A millionaire comes home early and can't believe what he sees. Robert was used to getting home always after 9 at night, when everyone was already asleep. That day, however, the meeting with investors in the city centre had ended earlier than expected, and he decided to go straight home without telling anyone. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell us in the comments where you are watching us from. As he opened the front door of the mansion in the affluent neighborhood, Robert stopped in the doorway and couldn't process what his eyes were seeing. Right there in the middle of the living room was Maria, the 28-year-old housekeeper, kneeling on the wet floor with a cloth in her hand. But that wasn't what left him paralyzed. It was the scene next to her. His son, David, only 4 years old, was standing with his small purple crutches, holding a dish towel and trying to help the young woman clean the floor. "Aunt Maria, I can clean this part right here," the blonde boy said, stretching out his little arm with difficulty. "Slow down, Davy. You've already helped me a lot today. How about you sit on the couch while I finish?" Maria replied with a soft voice that Robert had never heard before. "But I want to help. You always say we're a team," the boy insisted, trying to balance better on his crutches. Robert stood there, observing the scene without being noticed. There was something in that interaction that touched him in a way he couldn't explain. David was smiling, something the executive rarely saw at home. "All right, my little helper, but only a little bit more, okay?" Maria said, accepting the child's help. It was at that moment that David saw his father standing in the doorway. His little face lit up, but there was a mixture of surprise and apprehension in his blue eyes. "Daddy, you're home early," the boy exclaimed, trying to turn quickly and almost losing his balance. Maria startled and stood up, letting the cloth drop to the floor. She quickly wiped her hands on her apron and lowered her head. "Good evening, Mr. Robert. I didn't know you—" "Sorry, I was just finishing up the cleaning," she stammered, clearly nervous. Robert was still processing the scene. He looked at his son, who was still holding the cloth, and then at Maria, who looked like she wanted to disappear. "David, what are you doing?" Robert asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "I'm helping Aunt Maria, Daddy. Look." David took a few stumbling steps toward his father, proudly. "Today I managed to stand up by myself for almost 5 minutes." Robert looked at Maria, seeking an explanation. The housekeeper continued to look down, wringing her hands nervously. "5 minutes," Robert repeated, surprised. "What do you mean?" "Aunt Maria teaches me exercises every day. She says if I practice a lot, one day I'll be able to run like the other kids," David explained enthusiastically. The silence hung in the air. Robert felt a mixture of emotions he couldn't identify. Anger, gratitude, confusion. He looked at Maria again. "Exercises?" he questioned. Maria finally looked up, her brown eyes filled with fear. "Mr. Robert, I was just playing with Davy. I didn't mean to do anything wrong. If you want, I can stop." "No, Aunt Maria," David interrupted, moving quickly to stand between the two adults. "Daddy, Aunt Maria is the best. She doesn't give up on me when I cry because it hurts. She says I'm strong like a warrior." Robert felt something tighten in his chest. When was the last time he had seen his son so excited? When was the last time he had talked to him for more than 5 minutes? "David, go to your room. I need to talk to Maria," Robert said, trying to sound firm but gentle. "But Daddy—" "Now, David." The boy looked at Maria, who gave him an encouraging smile and a signal that everything was all right. David limped away with his crutches, but before disappearing on the stairs, he yelled, "Aunt Maria is the best person in the world." Robert and Maria were left alone in the living room. The executive approached her, noticing for the first time that the housekeeper had damp patches on the knees of her blue pants and that her hands were red from scrubbing the floor. "How long has this been going on?" he asked. "Sir, the exercises. How long have you been doing exercises with David?" Maria hesitated before answering. "Since I started working here, sir, about 6 months ago, but I swear I never neglected my work because of it. I do the exercises with him during my lunch break or after I finish everything." "You don't get paid extra for this," Robert observed. No, sir, and I'm not asking for anything. I like playing with Davy. He is a special child. Special how? Maria seemed surprised by the question. What do you mean, sir? You said he is special. Special how? Ah, Maria smiled for the first time since Robert had arrived. He is determined, sir. Even when the exercises are difficult and he wants to cry, he doesn't give up. And he has a huge heart. He always worries if I'm tired, if I'm sad. He's a very affectionate child. Robert felt that tightness in his chest again. When was the last time he had stopped to notice those qualities in his own son? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Continuing. And the exercises? How do you know what to do? Robert continued. Maria lowered her head again. I have experience with that, sir. What kind of experience? There was a long pause. Maria seemed to be struggling internally about what to say. My younger brother, John, was born with leg problems. I also spent my whole childhood taking him to physical therapy, learning exercises, helping him walk. When I saw Davy, I couldn't just stand by and watch him be sad. Sad, sir. With all due respect, Davy is very lonely. Mrs. Catherine is always busy with her friends. And you, well, you work a lot. So I thought that maybe you could help, Robert completed. Yes, sir, but if you don't want me to do this, I'll stop immediately. What did you want, Maria? She looked up, and for the first time, Robert saw determination in her eyes. I wanted him to smile more, sir. A child should smile every day. Robert was silent for a moment. He thought about how many times he had seen David smile in the last few weeks. He couldn't remember any. Where is Catherine? He asked you. The madam went out to dinner with her friends. She said she would be back late. And you stayed here with David? Yes, sir. He had dinner, took a bath, we did the exercises, and I was just finishing cleaning because he spilled juice in the living room. He wanted to help me clean. Robert looked around the room, noticing for the first time how impeccable everything was. The furniture was shining, there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere, and even the plants looked more alive. Maria, may I ask a personal question? Of course, sir. Why do you work as a housekeeper? The question caught Maria by surprise. What do you mean, sir? You clearly have knowledge of physical therapy, you're good with children, you're dedicated. Why don't you work in the health field? Maria smiled sadly. Because I don't have a degree, sir. I learned everything taking care of my brother, but that doesn't count for anything official. And I need to work to support my family. Your family? My mother and my brother John. He is 16 now. He studies in the morning and works in the afternoon at a small market. My mother cleans offices at night. We manage as best we can. Robert felt a strange mixture of admiration and shame. Here was a 28-year-old young woman working hard to support her family and still finding time and energy to care for his son with love and dedication. And you never thought about studying, taking a physical therapy course? Maria laughed, but there was no joy in the sound. With what money, sir? With what time? I leave the house at 6 in the morning, take 2 buses to get here at 7:30, work until 6 in the afternoon, take 2 buses back, get home at 8, help my brother with his homework, prepare dinner, and by the time I go to sleep, it's almost midnight. On weekends, I clean other houses to earn extra money. Robert was silent, absorbing this information. He had no idea about the housekeeper's life beyond the 8 hours she spent in his house. Maria, can I see the exercises you do with David? Now, sir, if it's possible. Maria hesitated. He's already in his pajamas, sir, and usually we do the exercises in the morning before his online classes. In the morning? Yes, sir. I arrive at 7:30, prepare Davy's breakfast, and while you are still sleeping, we do an exercise session in the garden. Then he showers, has breakfast, and is ready for class. Robert realized he knew nothing about his own son's routine. He left the house at 7 in the morning and Always got home after 9 at night. On weekends, he usually stayed in his home office or went out for business meetings. And does he like these exercises? He loves them, sir. At first it was difficult because he felt pain, but now he asks to do them himself. Yesterday, he managed to stand without his crutches for almost 3 minutes straight. 3 minutes? Robert's eyes widened. But the physical therapist said that would still take months to happen. Maria blushed. Maybe Davy is more motivated now, sir. Motivated by what? He wants to impress me. She hesitated. He wants to impress you, too. Impress me? He always talks about you, Mr. Robert. He says that when he can walk properly, he'll be able to work with you when he grows up. He says he wants to be like his dad. Robert felt his eyes water. He had no idea that David thought of him that way. At that moment, they heard footsteps on the stairs. It was David slowly descending with his crutches. "Daddy, you're still here," he said, relieved. "David, you should be sleeping," Robert said, but without a tone of reprimand. "I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking, you're not going to send Aunt Maria away, are you?" The question caught Robert off guard. "Why do you think I would send her away?" "Because you were serious when you told me to go up, and Mom always gets mad when the housekeepers do things she didn't tell them to." Robert looked at Maria, who had lowered her head again. "David, come here," Robert said, kneeling down to his son's height. The boy approached, supported by his crutches. "Do you like Maria?" "Very much. She's my best friend." "Why is she your best friend?" David thought for a moment. "Because she plays with me, she listens to me when I talk, and she's never in a hurry when it takes me a long time to do things, and she believes that I will be able to walk like the other kids." "And me? Am I your friend too?" Robert asked, feeling his heart ache. David hesitated, and Robert saw a sadness on his son's face that cut him like a knife. "You're my dad, not my friend," David said softly. "Dads are important, but friends are the ones who stay with us." Robert felt like he had been punched in the stomach. He looked at Maria, who was visibly emotional too. "David, I would really like to be your friend too. Will you teach me how?" David's eyes lit up. "Seriously, Daddy, very seriously. Then you have to play with me, listen to my stories, and come see my exercises with Aunt Maria." Robert smiled, feeling an emotion he hadn't experienced in years. "It's a deal. Tomorrow morning I want to see those exercises." "Seriously?" David jumped for joy, almost losing his balance. "Aunt Maria, did you hear? Daddy is going to see our exercises." Maria smiled, but Robert noticed a worry in her eyes. "Mr. Robert, you usually aren't home in the morning." "Tomorrow I will be," Robert said firmly. "Actually, I think I need to review some priorities." David hugged his father, still supported by his crutches. "Daddy, now I have two best friends, you and Aunt Maria." Robert hugged his son, feeling a love so strong it almost suffocated him. How had he let this wonderful child slip away from his life? "Now go to sleep, champion. Tomorrow is going to be a special day." After David went upstairs, Robert turned to Maria. "Thank you," he said simply. "For what, sir?" "For taking care of my son when I didn't know how to do it." Maria smiled shyly. "He is a special child, sir. Anyone would fall in love with him, but not just anyone would dedicate their free time to help him. Not just anyone would have the patience and knowledge you have." "Mr. Robert, may I ask a question?" "Of course. Are you really going to be here tomorrow morning?" Robert stopped to think. He had 3 meetings scheduled before 9 in the morning. He had a video conference with investors from overseas at 8. He had a report to finish by noon. "Yes," he said, surprising himself. "I will be here." That night, Robert went up to his room thinking about the conversation. Catherine hadn't arrived yet, so he took the opportunity to go into David's room. The boy was sleeping, but his crutches were carefully propped up on the nightstand, ready for the next day. Robert sat on the edge of the bed and watched his son sleep. How had that child grown so much without him noticing? When had David become this brave and determined person? He picked up his cell phone and cancelled the 3 meetings for The next morning, then he wrote an email explaining that the video conference would have to be rescheduled. For the first time in his career, Robert was putting his family first. When Catherine arrived home around 11 at night, Robert was waiting for her in the living room. "You're home early today," she said, taking off her shoes. "Did something happen, Catherine? We need to talk." "About what?" She sat on the couch next to him. "About David, about our family, about what's happening in this, house." Catherine sighed. "Robert, if this is about more doctors for David, I already told you. It's not about doctors. It's about Maria, the housekeeper. What about her? Did you know she does physical therapy exercises with David every day?" Catherine looked away. "I knew. And why didn't you tell me?" "Because you would get worried about responsibilities, lawsuits, all those things you always worry about. Catherine, she is helping our son walk better." "I know that, Robert." Catherine exploded. "Do you think I'm blind? Do you think I don't see David happier? Do you think I don't notice his progress? Then why didn't you tell me?" Catherine stood up and started pacing the room. "Because you're never here, Robert. Because when you are, you want to know if David took his medicine, if he went to physical therapy, if he did his schoolwork. You never ask if he laughed today, if he had fun, if he was happy." Robert was silent, absorbing his wife's words. "And Maria?" Catherine continued. "Maria makes David smile. She makes him believe he can achieve anything, so I let her continue because my son needs that." "Why did you never tell me you felt this way?" Catherine stopped pacing and looked at her husband. "Robert, when was the last time we talked about something that wasn't work or David's doctors?" Robert tried to remember, but couldn't. "I don't remember." "Me neither. And do you know why? Because you're not here. Physically you might be, but mentally you're always in the office, on the phone, on the computer. I raised David alone, Robert, and now Maria is helping me do that." Robert felt the guilt spreading through his chest. I didn't know you felt that way. Because you never asked?" They were silent for a few minutes. Robert processed everything that had happened that day. First the revelation about Maria and David, now the revelation about his own negligence as a father and husband. "Catherine, I want to change that." "Change what?" "Everything. I want to be present in David's life, in your life. I want us to be a real family." Catherine looked at him with skepticism. "Robert, you've said that before. Remember when David was born? When he was diagnosed? You always say you'll change, but work always comes first. This time is different. Why? Because today I saw my son for the first time, really saw him. And I realized that if I don't do something now, I'm going to lose the most important years of his life." Catherine sighed. "Robert, I want to believe you, but I need actions, not words. Then tomorrow morning, come and see. I'm going to watch the exercises Maria does with David. You cancelled your meetings?" "I cancelled them." Catherine's eyes widened. In 15 years of marriage, she had never seen Robert cancel meetings for family reasons. Maybe this time really is different," she murmured. "It will be, I promise." The next morning, Robert woke up at 6:30. He showered, put on casual clothes, something he rarely did on weekdays, and went down to the kitchen. Maria was already there preparing breakfast. "Good morning, Maria," he said, surprising the housekeeper. "Good morning, Mr. Robert. You woke up early today." "I did. Where is David?" "Still sleeping, sir. He usually wakes up at 7:30. "And what time do you do the exercises?" "At 8, sir, after he has breakfast." Robert looked at the clock. 7:15. "Can I help with anything?" Maria looked surprised. "Sir, the breakfast, can I help prepare it?" "Oh, of course, sir. Davy likes pancakes on Monday." "Pancakes? I didn't know that," Maria smiled. "He says he needs extra energy to start the week with the exercises." Robert watched Maria prepare the pancake batter, noticing the care with which she did everything. She wasn't just preparing food, she was preparing something special for David. "Maria, May I ask a question? Of course, sir. Why do you care so much about David? Maria stopped stirring the batter and thought for a moment. Mr. Robert, when I was a child, I saw my brother John being rejected by other children because of his difficulties. I saw the sadness in his eyes when he wanted to play, but couldn't keep up with the others. When I look at Davy, I see the same look John had when he was little. And what did you do for your brother? I was his best friend. I invented games he could participate in. I encouraged him to try new things. I celebrated every small victory of his as if it were the biggest achievement in the world. And it worked. Maria smiled, and Robert saw pride in her eyes. It worked. Today, John is in his second year of high school. He works, helps support the family, and is one of the most determined people I know. He still has limitations, but he never lets that stop him from living. And you want the same thing for David. I want him to be happy, Mr. Robert. I want him to believe he can achieve anything, because with this privileged family he has, with all the love and support you can give, he can go much further than my brother ever dreamed of. Robert felt that mixture of admiration and shame again. Maria was right. David had every advantage in the world, yet he was sad and lonely because he didn't have what mattered most: attention and love from his parents. At that moment, David appeared in the kitchen, still in his pajamas and with his crutches. "Daddy!" he cried out, surprised. "You didn't go to work." "Good morning, champion. Today I'm staying here to watch your exercises, remember?" David smiled from ear to ear. "Seriously? You're going to see how strong I am." "I am, but first let's have breakfast. Maria made special pancakes for you." During breakfast, Robert watched the interaction between David and Maria. They talked like old friends, laughing at inside jokes, planning the day's exercises. David was radiant, talking non-stop about things he wanted to show his father. "Daddy, did you know I can already climb 3 steps without my crutches?" 3 steps? That's incredible. "And I know how to stretch like a grown-up." "What kind of stretching?" "Aunt Maria taught me. She says it's important to prepare the muscles before exercising." Robert looked at Maria, impressed. She really knew what she was doing. At 8 on the dot, they went out to the garden. Catherine had also come down and was watching from the kitchen window. Robert noticed that she seemed curious to see how he would react to the exercises. "All right, Davy," Maria said, spreading a mat on the lawn. "Shall we start with the stretching?" "Yes, Daddy, sit here next to me to watch." Robert sat on the lawn, something he hadn't done in years. David lay down on the mat and began doing stretching movements that surprised Robert with their precision and seriousness. "Very good, Davy. Now let's work on balance," Maria said. She helped David stand up and positioned the crutches beside him. "Remember what we practiced? You're going to try to stand up without the crutches for 30 seconds. If you succeed, tomorrow we'll try 45. Can I try a whole minute? Let's go slow. 30 seconds is already very good." David dropped the crutches and stood by himself. Robert held his breath. The boy was trembling slightly, clearly straining to keep his balance, but he was succeeding. 15 seconds, Maria counted. "You're doing great." "Daddy, are you seeing?" David asked, without taking his eyes off a fixed point in front of him. "I'm seeing, son. You are incredible." 25 seconds, Maria continued. "Almost there. 30, David shouted, and at that moment he lost his balance and started to fall. Maria quickly caught him, preventing the fall. "I did it! I did it! 30 seconds!" David was radiant. Robert was emotional. He stood up and went to hug his son. "David, that was fantastic. I am so proud of you. Now, do you understand why I love exercising with Aunt Maria?" "I understand perfectly." They continued with the exercises for another 30 minutes. Maria guided David through different activities, walks with the crutches, leg strengthening exercises, balance practices. Robert was impressed with her knowledge and the infinite patience she showed. When they finished, David was tired but happy. "Aunt Maria, Tomorrow can I try 45 seconds without the crutches? Of course, but now let's take a shower and get ready for your online classes. Daddy, are you going to be here tomorrow too? Robert looked at Maria and then at his son. Yes, I am. Actually, I was thinking, how about I stay here every morning to watch your exercises? David hugged his father so tightly he almost knocked him down. Really? Every day? Every day? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Continuing. That afternoon, after David was doing his online classes, Robert called Maria for a private conversation in his office. Maria, I want to make you a proposition. What? Kind of proposition, sir? I want you to become David's official therapeutic companion. Maria's eyes widened. Sir, you have knowledge of physical therapy. You have a special connection with my son, and he trusts you completely. I would like to formalize this. But sir, I don't have a degree. We'll solve that. Would you like to take a physical therapy course? Maria was silent for a long moment. Mr. Robert, that would be a dream, but I can't afford to. If I pay for the course, would you do it? I would pay for your studies, the course, the books, the transportation, and you would continue to receive your normal salary. Actually, I would increase your salary since your responsibilities would be greater. Maria started to cry. Mr. Robert, I don't know what to say. Say yes. David needs you, and you deserve to have the opportunity to study what you love. But what about the housework, the other tasks? We'll hire someone else for the domestic tasks. Your focus would be exclusively on David. Maria couldn't stop crying. Why are you doing this, sir? Because last night I realized I almost missed the opportunity to get to know my own son. And this morning, I saw that you are giving him something I didn't know how to give, hope and confidence. I want you to continue doing that, but officially and recognized. And if I don't pass the course? You will, I'm sure. Maria wiped her tears and looked at Robert with determination. Then I accept, Mr. Robert. I will study very hard and will do the best job I can with Davy. I know you will. In the days that followed, the house's routine changed completely. Robert began leaving the house later, participating in David's morning exercises. He cancelled several meetings to be present in his son's important moments. David was radiant with his father's presence. His progress in the exercises accelerated, motivated by the attention he was receiving. In 1 week, he managed to stand for a full minute, without his crutches. In 2 weeks, he managed to take 5 consecutive steps without support. Catherine observed these changes with a mixture of joy and caution. She was happy to see her husband more present, but still worried that it might be temporary. One morning, during the exercises, David achieved something no one expected. He let go of his crutches and walked 8 steps until he reached his father. "Daddy, I walked! I walked by myself!" David cried, throwing himself into Robert's arms. Robert was crying tears of emotion. "You did it, champion. You really did it." Maria was also crying, proud of David's progress. "Aunt Maria, did you see? I walked." "I did, my warrior. You're incredible." Catherine had run out of the house when she heard the shouts and arrived just in time to see David take a few more steps without support. "My God, David!" she cried, hugging her son. That night, after David had fallen asleep, Robert and Catherine talked about the changes that were happening. "Robert, I need to admit something," Catherine said. "What?" "I was thinking of separating from you." Robert felt the world spin. "What?" "I felt alone, Robert. I felt like I was raising David alone while you lived for work. I couldn't take it anymore. And now I see a different man. I see the father I always wanted you to be, the husband I married. But I need to know if this will last." Robert took his wife's hand. "Catherine, I almost lost the 2 most important people in my life. Because of work. That won't happen again, I promise." "How can you be sure?" "Because I discovered that nothing is worth more than seeing my son walking towards me, smiling. No business, no money, Nothing is worth that. A few weeks later, Robert made another discovery about Maria. He got home earlier and found her crying in the garden. "Maria, what happened?" "Nothing, Mr. Robert. Everything's fine." "Clearly it's not. What happened?" Maria hesitated before answering. "It's just that this morning, one of Mrs. Catherine's friends came here. She wasn't very kind to me." "What do you mean?" "She said I was taking advantage of your kindness, that I was trying to meddle where I wasn't called. She said a housekeeper had to know her place." Robert felt his anger rise. "Who was it, Maria?" "No need, Mr. Robert." "Who was it?" "Mrs. Helen, Mrs. Catherine's friend." Robert knew Helen, an arrogant and prejudiced woman who always made a point of showing her social superiority. "What else did she say?" "She said I was confusing things, that Davy wasn't my son, and that I should stop acting like his mother. She said people like me should know our place." Robert was boiling with rage. "Maria, you know that's not true, right?" "I do, sir. But it hurt to hear, and the worst part is that Davy was nearby and heard everything. He got very upset and defended me. It was embarrassing." "David defended you?" "He told Mrs. Helen that I was the best person in the world and that she couldn't be mean to me. He got very nervous." Robert smiled despite his anger. "He was right, and I'm going to resolve this situation." "Mr. Robert, please don't make a big deal out of this. I don't want to cause problems between Mrs. Catherine and her friends." "Maria, you're not causing any problem. The problem is the lack of manners of people who think they are superior to others." That night, Robert spoke with Catherine about the incident. "Catherine, was Helen here today?" "She was." "Why?" "She was disrespectful to Maria." "What do you mean?" Robert told her what had happened. Catherine was visibly irritated. "I didn't know that. If I had known, I would have thrown her out of the house immediately." David heard everything and got upset. "My God, poor David. He adores Maria." "Catherine, I don't want that kind of person in our house anymore. If your friends can't treat our employees with respect, they are not welcome here." "I agree completely. I'll talk to Helen tomorrow and make it very clear that this behavior is not acceptable." The next day, something unexpected happened. Robert was in his office when he received a call from an acquaintance, Mark Stevens, the owner of a rival company. "Robert, I heard you have an exceptional housekeeper there." "Why do you want to know about that, Mark?" "Helen mentioned to me that she's very good with special needs children. Coincidentally, my grandson has cerebral palsy, and we're looking for someone qualified to care for him. I'd like to make her an offer." Robert felt a chill in his stomach. "What kind of offer?" "Double what you pay, plus benefits, a car at her disposal, complete health insurance for her and her family." "What do you think, Mark? Maria is not for sale." "Robert, be reasonable. Everyone has a price, and from what I heard, she's just a housekeeper. Here, she would be an official therapeutic companion." "She already is our official therapeutic companion." "Oh, is she? Helen didn't mention that." "Well, even so, my offer is still on the table. Can you give me her phone number?" "No, Mark, the answer is no. Maria is part of our family. If you change your mind, call me." Robert hung up the phone, worried. He knew Mark wouldn't give up easily, and he also knew that the offer was truly tempting for someone in Maria's financial situation. He decided not to mention the call, but he remained attentive in the following days. His concern proved justified when 3 days later, Maria asked to talk to him. "Mr. Robert, I received a job offer." Robert's heart sank. "What kind of offer?" "To work as a therapeutic companion for the Stevens family. They offered much more than I earn here. Do you want to accept?" Maria was silent for a long moment. "Mr. Robert, I don't know what to do. The money would make a huge difference for my family. My mother could stop working at night. My brother could dedicate himself only to his studies, but I can't imagine leaving Davy. He has become very important to me, and you have become very important to him too." "I know, and that's what is leaving me conflicted. I have obligations to my family, but I also feel responsible for Davy." Robert thought carefully before answering. Maria, I won't try to influence your decision, but can I ask you a few questions? Of course. Are you happy working here? Very happy. Do you feel you have opportunities for growth here? With the physical therapy course I'm paying for? Yes. And David, how do you think he would react if you left? Maria sighed. He would be devastated. Just yesterday he was talking about the plans we have for when he can run without his crutches. So what is your doubt, really? The money, Mr. Robert. My family needs it badly. Robert nodded. I understand. How much did they offer? Maria said the amount, and Robert was surprised. It was truly a significant sum. Maria, can I make a counteroffer? What do you mean? I can match the salary they offered, in addition to keeping the benefits we already have, the physical therapy course, health insurance, and I can include a health insurance plan for your mother and your brother too. Maria's eyes widened. Mr. Robert, you don't need to. I do need to. David needs you, and you deserve to be valued for the exceptional work you do. But that's a lot of money. Maria, you saved my marriage and helped me reconnect with my son. How much is that worth? Maria started to cry. Mr. Robert, I don't know what to say. Say you'll stay. I'll stay, of course I'll stay. That afternoon, David was playing in the garden when he saw Maria tidying up her things. He ran to her, worried. Aunt Maria, are you leaving? No, my love. I'm going to stay here with you forever, for a long, long time. David hugged Maria tightly. That's good, because I still have a lot of things to learn from you, and when I can run, I'll run to you every day. And I'll be here waiting for my warrior. A few weeks later, something no one expected happened. David was doing his morning exercises when he achieved something extraordinary. He ran. It wasn't many yards, but it was several consecutive steps at a faster speed than walking. Daddy! Aunt Maria! I ran! David shouted, radiant with joy. Robert and Maria ran to him, emotional. David, that was incredible, Robert said, hugging his son. My warrior turned into an athlete, Maria said, hugging him too. Now I can play with the other kids as an equal. Yes, you can, my love. You can do anything you want. That night, Robert reflected on everything that had happened in the last few months. He had almost lost his family because of work, but a dedicated housekeeper had saved not only his son, but the entire family dynamic. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please hit the like button and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Continuing. A few months later, the day of David's preschool graduation arrived. It was a special event where the children would demonstrate their skills and talents. Robert had cancelled all commitments to be present. Daddy, are you sure you're going to make it? David asked on the morning of the graduation. I'm absolutely sure, champion. I wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. And is Aunt Maria going to be there too? Of course, we are your official cheerleading squad. At the school, David was nervous. He had prepared a special presentation where he would demonstrate how he had overcome his motor difficulties. Aunt Maria, what if I fall in front of everyone? He asked as he got ready. Davy, you've fallen many times during our training, and you always got back up. If you fall today, you'll get back up too, but I bet you won't fall. Why are you so sure? Because you are the most determined boy I know, and because you trained very hard for this moment. When it was David's turn to present, he walked to the center of the stage without his crutches. The audience went silent, realizing that this was something special. My name is David, he began in a firm voice. When I was little, I couldn't walk properly. I needed crutches, and I was afraid to try new things. Robert and Catherine were emotional in the audience. Maria was beside them, equally emotional. But then I met someone very special, David continued. Aunt Maria taught me that when we train and don't give up, we can achieve anything. She taught me to be strong, to be brave, and to believe in myself. David then did something that surprised everyone. He ran from one end of the stage to the other, without stumbling, without hesitating, with perfect balance. I want to dedicate this run to 3 people, David said, out of breath but smiling. To my daddy, who learned to be my best friend, to my mommy, who always took care of me, and to Aunt Maria, who taught me that I can fly if I want to. The audience erupted in applause. Robert was openly crying, as were Catherine and Maria. And now, David continued, I want to show you something I learned. Aunt Maria, come here. Maria was surprised, but David called her to the stage. This is Maria, David said to the audience. She's the most important person in my life after my parents. She believed in me when even I didn't. And I want to tell everyone that she is the best teacher in the world. David hugged Maria on the stage, and the audience stood up in an ovation. Robert and Catherine also went up to the stage to hug David and Maria. Daddy, David said while still on the stage, can you tell everyone one thing? What, son? That Aunt Maria is no longer our housekeeper. She is part of our family. Robert took the microphone. My son is right, he said with an emotional voice. Maria is not just our employee. She is part of our family. She saved my son, she saved my marriage, and she taught me what really matters in life. The audience applauded again, and Maria was crying tears of emotion. After the presentation, several people from the school approached Robert and Catherine to congratulate David and to meet Maria. Many parents of children with special needs wanted to know about the methods she used. You should think about opening a therapy center, one of the mothers suggested. There are many children who could benefit from Maria's work. Robert looked at Maria, who was chatting animatedly with other mothers about exercises and motivational techniques. You know, Catherine, he said to his wife, maybe that's not a bad idea. What do you mean? A therapy center specialized in children with Maria as the coordinator after she graduates. Would you invest in that? I would. And do you know why? Because I saw firsthand how her work can transform the life of a child and an entire family. That night at home, Robert called Maria for a conversation. Maria, can I ask a crazy question? Of course, Mr. Robert. Would you like to have your own therapy center one day? Maria laughed. Mr. Robert, that's a very big dream for someone like me. Why do you say that? Because opening a therapy center requires a lot of money, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. I'm still learning. What if I told you I'm willing to invest in that dream? Maria stopped smiling. What do you mean? I'm thinking of opening a therapy center for children with special needs. A place where every child receives the same kind of attention and care that you gave David. And I would like you to be the therapeutic director. Mr. Robert, me? This is serious? Completely serious, of course. You would have to finish your college first, maybe do some specializations. But the project can be developed slowly. And David would continue to be your priority. In fact, he could be a kind of ambassador for the center, showing other children that it's possible to overcome difficulties. Maria was silent for a long moment. Mr. Robert, if this really happens, it would be the biggest dream of my life coming true. Then let's make it happen. 2 years later, the Hope Children's Therapy Center was inaugurated. It was a modern, colorful place with state-of-the-art equipment and a dedicated team of professionals. Maria, now graduated in physical therapy with specializations in pediatrics, was the therapeutic director. David, at 6 years old and running normally, was at the inauguration as a special guest. He had become the symbol of the center, inspiring other children with his story of overcoming difficulties. Aunt Maria, David said, running to Maria on the day of the inauguration. You did it. You have your own place to help children. I did, my warrior. And do you know who inspired me to never give up? Who? A brave little boy who taught me that when we believe and work hard, dreams come true. Robert watched the scene with pride. His company now had a new focus. In addition to the traditional businesses, he had created a social responsibility division that supported projects like the therapy center. Robert, Catherine said, approaching him, do you regret anything? I regret taking so long to understand what really matters, but I don't regret anything we did after I learned the lesson. And what was the lesson? That sometimes the most important people in our lives arrive unexpectedly, and that love and dedication are worth more than any amount of money. David ran to his parents, radiant with joy. "Daddy, Mommy, did you see how many children came today? Aunt Maria said she is going to help all of them get strong like me." "We did, son. And do you know what the best part is?" "What?" "That all this started because one special person decided to believe in you when you needed it most." David smiled and looked at Maria, who was talking to other children's parents. "Daddy, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "I always knew Aunt Maria was special. From the very first day, I felt like she was going to change our life." "And how did you know that?" "Because she looked at me like I was normal, not like I was broken. She looked at me like I could achieve anything." Robert smiled, realizing that his son, even being so young, had understood something that he, an adult, had taken so long to understand, that a person's true value is not in what they have, but in what they are capable of giving to others. A few months after the center's inauguration, Robert received an unexpected call. It was from Mark Stevens, the businessman who had tried to steal Maria years earlier. "Robert, I need to talk to you." "About what, Mark?" "About the therapy center you opened. My grandson has been going there for 3 months." "Oh, really? And how is it going?" "That's why I'm calling. It's extraordinary, Robert. In 3 months, my grandson has made progress he hadn't made in 2 years of traditional therapy." Robert smiled. "Maria is indeed exceptional. It's more than that. Her entire team is different. They don't treat the children as patients. They treat them as unique and special human beings. My grandson is happy for the first time since the accident. I'm happy to hear that." "Robert, I need to apologize to you." "Why?" "For trying to take Maria from you years ago. At the time, I saw her only as a qualified employee. I didn't understand that she was part of your family, that there was a much deeper connection. I understand. Now I see that she was in the right place, with the right people. If I had managed to take her back then, maybe she would never have had the opportunity to develop as she has with you. Maybe. Anyway, I wanted to thank you for not letting me make that mistake, and I wanted to congratulate you for seeing her potential before any of us." After hanging up the phone, Robert reflected on the conversation. It was curious how things had unfolded. If he had let Maria leave back then, several lives would have been different. David might not have developed as he did. His marriage with Catherine might not have been saved, and dozens of children who were now being treated at the center wouldn't have the opportunity to grow up with the same care and attention. That afternoon, when David arrived home from school, Robert was waiting for him in the garden, the same place where everything had begun years earlier. "Daddy, you're here early today." "I am. I wanted to talk to you about something." "About what?" "About that day when I came home and saw you helping Maria clean the floor." David smiled. "I remember that day. You were surprised because you had never seen me do exercises." "Exactly. And do you know what I was thinking at that moment?" "What?" "I was thinking you were the bravest child I had ever seen. There you were, with all your difficulties, trying to help someone who was taking care of you. But it was normal to help Aunt Maria. She always helped me." "Exactly. And that's what made me realize who you really were. You weren't just a child with limitations. You were a generous, determined, and loving child. And now I know that day changed our family forever, because that's when I learned to truly see you and when I learned to value people like Maria." David thought for a moment. "Daddy, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "That day also changed my life." "How so?" "Because it was the first day you looked at me like I was special in a good way, not special in a sad way." Robert felt his eyes water. "David, you were always special in a good way. I just took a long time to realize it." "It's okay, Daddy. The important thing is that now you know." They were silent for a moment, observing the garden where David had taken his first steps without crutches, where Maria had spent countless hours teaching and encouraging, where a family had reunited. "Daddy," David said, breaking the silence. "Yes? Do you think all families have a Maria?" "What do you mean?" "Person who comes and changes everything for the better, who helps us to be better." Robert thought about the question. "I don't think every family is lucky enough to find a Maria, David. But I think every family has the opportunity to be a Maria for someone." "How so?" "We can be for other people what Maria was for us. We can believe in other people when they don't believe in themselves. We can help other people discover what they are capable of." David smiled. "That's what we're doing at Aunt Maria's Center." "Exactly. We are helping other families discover what we discovered, that love and dedication can overcome any obstacle." At that moment, Maria arrived from work as she did every day. David ran to her as he always did. "Aunt Maria, how was the day at the center?" "It was wonderful, my warrior. Today a little girl managed to take her first steps, just like you did a few years ago." "Seriously?" "She was happy, radiant. And do you know what she said?" "What?" "That she wanted to be strong like David." David blushed with pride. "She really said that?" "She did. You have become an inspiration to many children, you know." Robert watched the interaction between David and Maria, noticing how, even after all those years, they maintained the same special connection as on the first day. "Maria," Robert said, Can I ask a question?" "Of course, Mr. Robert." "Do you regret anything? Your decision to stay here when you had other opportunities?" Maria looked at David, then at Robert and smiled. "Mr. Robert, if I had left, I would have missed the opportunity to see this boy transform into the incredible young man he is today. I would have missed the opportunity to see a family reunite, and I would have missed the opportunity to fulfill a dream I didn't even know I had." "What dream?" "The dream of making a difference in the lives of dozens of children, not just one. The dream of having a career that I love, not just a job. The dream of being part of a family that values me for who I am, not just for what I do." David hugged Maria. "Aunt Maria, do you know what the best part of all is?" "What, my love?" "It's that our story hasn't ended. It's just beginning." "How so?" "Because now you're going to help many children, just like you helped me. And I'm going to be there to help too, to show them that it's possible to achieve anything." Maria looked at Robert and Catherine, who had joined the group in the garden. "You know," she said, "when I was a child, my mother always said that God puts the right people in our path at the right time. Back then, I didn't really understand what that meant." "And now you understand?" Catherine asked. "Now I understand that each of us was exactly where we needed to be, when we needed to be. Davy needed someone to believe in him. You needed to reconnect as a family, and I needed to discover my purpose in life." "And did you discover it?" David asked. "I did, my warrior. My purpose is to help children and families discover their own strength. And it all started right here in this garden with a brave little boy who taught me that the greatest miracles happen when we don't give up." Robert looked around, seeing his family gathered in the garden where everything had begun. David, now a healthy and confident boy, and Catherine, his wife, who had learned to trust in their love again, and Maria, who had ceased to be just a housekeeper to become a beloved member of the family. "Do you know what I learned from all this?" Robert asked. "What, Daddy?" "That sometimes we think we are offering an opportunity to someone, when in fact it is that person who is giving us the greatest opportunity of our lives." "Opportunity for what?" David asked. "Opportunity to be better, opportunity to love more, opportunity to make a difference in the world." Maria smiled, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "Mr. Robert, the only thing I wanted when I started working here was to support my family. I never imagined I would gain so much more than that. What did you gain?" "I gained a second family. I gained a purpose. I gained the chance to see that it's possible to transform lives when we act with love." David looked at the three adults around him and smiled. You know what? I think we should do this every day. Do what? Catherine asked. Gather here in the garden and remember how lucky we are, because there are many people in the world who don't have what we have. And what do we have? Robert asked, curious about his son's answer. We have love, we have a family that cares, and we have Aunt Maria, who is the most special person in the world. Robert hugged his son, feeling immense gratitude for everything that had happened. If someone had told him years earlier that a housekeeper would completely change his life, he would have laughed. But now he understood that angels don't always arrive with wings. Sometimes they arrive with an apron and a heart full of love. David, Robert said, you're right. Let's do this every day. Let's always remember how lucky we are. And let's always remember, Maria added, that every new day is an opportunity to be the difference in someone's life, just as you were in mine. As the sun set over the family's garden, 4 people whom destiny had unexpectedly united embraced, knowing that their lives had been forever transformed by a seemingly casual encounter between a workaholic executive, a determined housekeeper, and a child who just needed someone to believe in him. And so, what began as a simple early arrival home turned into the most beautiful lesson about family, love, and the transformative power of seeing the best in people, even when they themselves can't see it yet. End of the story. Now tell me what you thought of this touching story. Do you believe Robert made the right decision by valuing Maria? Leave your honest opinion in the comments and tell me where you're following us from. If you have a similar experience or know someone who went through something like this, share it with us. And don't forget to hit that nice like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other stories that will move your heart. Thank you very much for staying until the end with me.